Okay, so in the Season 2 trailer, Kate says this.
I will lead a strike team into Zaun with 3 objectives. Locate Jinx, dismantle Shimmer, and neutralize any agents still loyal to Silco.
First thing that interests me here is find Jinx. It's not kill Jinx, it's not even arrest Jinx, it's find Jinx. That is very weird to me. It reminds me of this line in the very first Season 2 teaser.
If I go after your sister alone, one of us comes back in a box.
Again, it's go after her, not kill, not arrest. We have lost our Jinx and how we gotta find her. That is the bizarre framing of the Season 2 Jinx arc that we gotta figure out. And the other very weird framing aspect here is just the fact that it is a separate bullet point. We know that the Zaun Piltover War is coming, and the default expectation and mission objectives here would be just fight Zaun, like one objective, fight all the forces of Zaun. But no, we get this very deliberate split. Dismantle Shimmer, stop the industrial side of their war effort, that makes total sense, but then find Jinx and neutralize the Silco people. In other words, there's a separation there. Jinx is apparently not part of the Silco group, she's not expected to be anywhere near the Silco group, and also stopping one seemingly won't stop the other. And this is a little more speculative, but we do see this reflected in the colors as well. We know Arcane excels in communicating through color symbolism, and color-wise I think it's very noteworthy that Jinx's blue is still at the forefront here. We see that starkly differentiated from the Chemtechy purple gold of presumably the Silco Loyalist faction, so it would seem that Jinx is on her own here, or possibly with some Firelights who are inspired by her. Seems like they were the ones who made this wall art, but either way separate from the other Undercity faction. And while we're talking colors, by the way, let's just talk about all the war factions while we're at it. We do see another flash of a different color in this trailer. There's a certain hound who we know is going to be running around the Undercity, who in this trailer appears to be very red. And Warwick is someone who we expect to kind of be on his own, separate from Jinx, separate from Silco Loyalists. And also the fact that Kate doesn't mention him means I assume that Piltover doesn't know about him, which also means that Enforcer Vi might not know about him either when she goes after Jinx. So that seems important. Let's put a pin in that one. That's going to come up again. But anyway, continuing with the war parties, we also do see Sevika thrown into this mix. And weirdly enough, it seems like she's on Team Jinx against the Silco faction to some extent, maybe just momentarily. And I'm concluding this based on Sevika's new arm that is super duper Jinxy. That is 100% made or repaired by Jinx. And we also do see Jinx herself in the scene, by the way, watching the fight go down. So is Sevika fighting for Jinx here? Is she aligned with Jinx somehow? It's hard to say, but whatever it is, it does feel extremely opposite. And if you've been watching my Season 2 prediction videos, we keep coming back to that quote from Christian Link that the Season 2 characters are going to end up the opposite of their Season 1 selves. So you have Sevika, who has historically been someone who aligns herself with power, who is completely and utterly loyal to power, but in this season, I think that's all going to stop. There was this statement by the writers a while ago that in Season 2, Sevika quit smoking. Smoking in Arcane is a metaphor for power in the Undercity. I made a short about this a long time ago. We see it with Vander, we see it with Silco, we see it with the Street Toughs trying to smoke in episode 1. We got Finn trying to smoke but unable to handle the fumes and ultimately losing his lighter. And then of course Sevika can't quite light her cigar in the end. So Sevika is done with power and loyalty. I think she's not actually going to be Jinx's ally here, but that this newfound indifference to Jinx that allows her to be this close to her and to accept Jinx's help, her technology, that is a sign of Sevika's new life of being unaligned, of being totally on her own for the first time. And that would also make sense why, even though she's wanted to see this war for a long time, both with Vander and with Silco, we still see her here fighting another Undercity guy. And with Jinx's technology, by the way, i.e. not Zaunite Chemtech or Piltover and Hextech, but also unaligned technology if Jinx really is her own faction. So however that's going to play out, I am super interested to see. But that seems to sum up what we're getting on the war front here from Zaun. We got a Chembaron faction, i.e. the Silco Loyalists, maybe. And then we got Jinx, possibly plus some Firelights. We got Warwick alone, we got Sevika alone, and while we're at it, likely we got Victor alone as well. And then they're all up against Piltover as a whole, all the Enforcers, but then maybe also Kate's mini Enforcer team separately. And then barging in, we got Noxus and Imbessa's faction separately as well. And who knows how big that faction could be or whether they're going to eventually turn on Piltover. Okay, but back to Jinx. So where is she? Is she hiding somewhere? What is she doing in there?
What is she doing? I never know what she's doing back there.
So what we do know, what we must say is, first of all, we have this sequence, this confrontation, this showdown with Vi, and something I think is extremely relevant here is the drawings on the walls. To back up for a second, I had some hope for Jinx at the end of Season 1 when she said this.
So, here's to the new us.
This final step of her arc to me read as her finally accepting these traumas of her past and moving forward from it. Who cares if the way forward in her mind was this monstrously destructive path? We had this character defined by her past, trapped in childhood, from her juvenile games to her crayon drawings to her overgrown little girl pigtails. And then this scene was her taking her first steps out of that. Her first steps into future-facing Jinx. But then I saw this setting and her drawings here, and we've got Milo, we've got sisters, we've got the scene of Vander adopting them on the bridge, and we've got the the exact same monsters from the season 1 finale. Jinx has not moved on. Jinx is still very much trapped in her past traumas, and now she doesn't even have a Silco to kind of keep her on track and prod her to try to move on in his own way. This season, I think we're going to see her very isolated. Not immediately, and like I said, maybe with some Firelight followers around her early on, but eventually once we get here, she'll have to have been isolated enough to retreat all the way into this past demon world, and that's going to be paired with her growing as a threat to Piltover. And as for the how, that's the next question we have to answer. How is she going to be a threat? So she could just be working on some big weapon again. That does strike me as a little bit too similar to season 1. My friend Aiden mentioned that there's this thing in League lore about this grand heist that Jinx does of the Ecliptic Vaults, this ancient treasury underneath Piltover. She vandalizes it with a drawing of Vi, and then she slips past Kate and the Wardens, and Vi apparently goes after her alone, and there's this giant explosive fight inside the vaults. I don't know, seems like it fits pretty well. In the lore, it's money that she's stealing, I think, but in Arcane, I'm guessing it would be some kind of technology, something very, very powerful that poses a huge threat to Piltover. And I will say there's a big question that remains here of what exactly is Jinx's motivation in this season. It's a very difficult question. Let me know if you have any thoughts on it. Definitely leave a comment. It's hard to speculate here because season 1 does leave her isolated, and all of Jinx and Powder's motivation in the past has come from her relationships. Whether it's Powder wanting to be like Vi, or her proving Milo wrong, or earning Silco's love, or reuniting with Vi. End of season 1, Silco's obviously gone. I think Jinx is very distant from Vi mentally at this point, at least consciously, so what else does she have that can make her positively want something? It's possible that she's just going to go pure chaos wildcard this season. That doesn't sound that interesting to me, to be honest. Arcane writers would definitely give her something more, give her something deeper. So this is a big I don't know for me. Tell me your thoughts on this. Either way, one possibility I definitely am rejecting is ideological motivation. That is not Jinx at all. I have a very hard time seeing that. And that's despite the fact that we do apparently have this greater role that she's playing as the symbol of resistance, which I think is fascinating, by the way, on a writing level, because I had this question that had been bothering me since way before this trailer of how exactly does a character like Jinx advance in the story? She doesn't have the personality to be a leader. She's not someone who would organize a movement. It's hard to imagine her having underlings. How does she even get out of her own head enough to do something like that? But then also she can't just be another nobody either. But the solution to this we're seeing in the trailer is actually just so perfect. Jinx has become a symbol. She doesn't need to lead anything. She has already led it. Jinx was the one singular fearless Zaunite whose Zauniness was so extreme and crazy monstrous that it led her to fire the first shot of the war. A war, by the way, which all of these people have been dying to wage for years. That alone is enough to seal her forever as a legend, as a visionary leader, as an icon. And that alone is also enough to make her public enemy number 1 for Piltover. And she can be all this, gain all this esteem, feel like she's advancing so far as a character on this one track without being confined by that track, without being forced to do anything by the narrative that doesn't fit into the other stuff we want to see from her. She has all this freedom of movement to progress or regress as we need her to on all these other fronts, like her plot plans and her relationship to her trauma and her relationship to other characters. And on that note, let's talk about Endgame. How does Jinx's arc end? We obviously don't have all the info, but here's what we do know. We got this epic end to the trailer.
Jinx! Finally got the name right. Sister.
Basically this scene from the season 1 intro, finally. This seems to be some part of the finale. And then we also have the season 2 poster. I would guess that's also part of the finale. And then we have these statements.
I can do this myself. No one else needs to get hurt.
I'm glad it's you. Had to be you.
The big move here, I think, which I actually first heard from this French season 2 prediction video by my friend Joanne, is that Jinx's line here is made to sound like it's about Vi because it follows Vi's line, except then we hear this.
Had to be you.
The howl of Warwick, the call of Jinx's father. So I think as Jinx retreats deeper and deeper into the ghosts of her past, it makes sense that the final act of the season wouldn't be this confrontation between sisters. That's going to be the bait, and the switch is going to be a confrontation between Jinx and Vander, i.e. Jinx and parental figure. And that fight is going to give way to Jinx killing Vander to protect Vi, killing the monster of the past that's haunting these two sisters, traumatizing Vi in the process, but also bringing the sisters together finally in this haunting, beautiful, tragic way, and not letting the sins of their fathers be repeated through them, i.e. not letting differences divide them and destroy them in hopes of building a better world, as we saw with Vander and Silco, but holding on to the last shred of the bond that these siblings do share to protect each other, and to hell with the rest of the world. That scene, while the whole war is going on around them, is going to be a whole nother level of don't cry, you're perfect, and we'll show them. Season 1 ended with the thing that Jinx does, cause wanton destruction, except with purpose this time, fully in control, fully intentional. Season 2 ends with the other thing Jinx does, which is kill fathers, but this time, again, with purpose, fully in control, and fully intentional. The war between Zaun and Piltover will rage on because that's what these two cities do, and we'll be left with a moment of some ambiguity with the sisters, knowing they cannot fully be together again, not with things as is, but wondering what the single desperate shared moment between them means, and whether that fleeting moment of love is a sign that healing is possible. Subscribe. Next video will be all about Vi and also some more about Kate, but holy moly, the Vi stuff is going to be wild. There's so much to talk about with her, especially with all the animation festival stuff, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully that vid will also be out very soon in a matter of days. We are doing these prediction vids piecemeal. I'll link all the vids in each post so you can catch up on them if you miss any. Thanks again to everyone who helped me with the ideas for this video. Aiden, Joanne, Kamaya, Hunterwolf, as well as everyone else on the Discord who's been discussing this and everyone who's commented season 2 thoughts on my other posts. You've all been a huge help to me. Stay tuned for the Vi video. Hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching.